Do we have too much government?
We need to put people ahead of corporate profits.
This system is so lopsided.
This threat is a real threat to democracy.
And I think that's really important. That's something we haven't been doing in this country for a long time.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it?
Access to Democracy and other Eagan community television programming is supported by Thomson Reuters, makers of Westlaw Next and based in Eagan. Through Westlaw Next and other innovative online services, Thomson Reuters is the world's leading source of intelligent information for businesses and professionals. Online at thomsonreuters.com. And by U.S. Federal Credit Union, the member-owned financial institution offering service, value, and experience you can trust to the greater Twin Cities community.
Welcome. Access to the Minnesota Twins, as opposed to access to democracy, and a return guest who's been with us, what, a dozen years, maybe 10 years
seems like
now?
it, yeah, number
Kevin
of times.
Smith.
Appreciate it.
Because every time Kevin is here, one of the things about Kevin has a great sense of humor, but one of the things that is interesting is every time he's here, he has moved another rung up the ladder. So right now he's the senior director of broadcasting and communications for the Twins.
That's correct.
Which is a whole new area for you.
Uh-huh.
And tell us a little bit about what that entails.
Well, what's interesting is before I was in charge of public affairs and the community fund, which was great, and I really kind of miss giving that up. But my career has really largely been before I came to Twins and in media relations, and then broadcasting. Before that, I worked at Channel 4 for many, many years with Dave Moore and Mark Rosen and Don Shelby and the like. So I've got a broadcasting background. So what I do now with the Twins is I kind of oversee our corporate communications division, which is all the news outside the lines, basically. We've got a baseball communication staff that handles the hits, runs, and errors, and I'll handle the business communications as well as all the broadcasting entities we have with the Treasure Island Baseball Network, some 81 radio affiliates across Twins territory, and I also manage our relationship with Fox Sports North and Major League Baseball's broadcasting department, as well as ESPN and Fox.
So does that take you out of the Twin Cities pretty often, or are you?
No, actually, what's nice is about this position is it's based at Target Field. So anything that comes into the building, like for example, we'll have in July we'll have the Yankees in and the big Yes Network trucks roll in. So I deal with all the incoming regional sports networks that broadcast our opponents' games, as well as our Fox Sports North's crew. So I'm largely based here at Target Field.
Now we have Tony Oliva, who does, I think, play-by-play or color for the Spanish. How big is the Spanish radio network?
Well, we've got, what's nice about Spanish radio, we've got 50 games this year on La Muera Buena in the Metro. So it's a great partnership we have with the ownership of that group, and we help them select the games that they want over the given course of the year. Whether we like to pick games from various series. It's almost like having a partial season ticket plan. We hit pretty much everybody. So Tony does the analysis on that. Alfonso Fernandez is our play-by-play man, who also does Timberwolves games. He's great. He's awesome. So it's a nice little, it's an outreach program too to that community that likes to listen to our games, because as you know, we've got our share of Latin players this year for sure, and we'd like to
in fact, we have some like Arcia who are struggling with their English.
We have Arcia here, yeah, with Pedro Florimon. Wilkin Ramirez is one of our leaders in the clubhouse.
He's a translator.
Yeah, he's one of our translators, and he's a great kid too. So it's fun to reach into that community and provide Twins baseball some 50 games this season.
And in addition to that, the Pole lads went out and they bought 96.3, and radio moved from WCCO, and I think one other, was it KARE 11 that it was on?
It was, we had, it was WCCO for many, many years.
Yeah.
And then it was over to 1500 ESPN, a Hubbard broadcasting property. And now we've moved, as you mentioned, to 96.3 K-Twin. It's a Northern Lights Broadcasting Company. station. Northern Lights is owned by, the Pollad family company. So we've kind of taken our radio in-house, so to speak, onto our family radio station, which has been a good transition. It's the first time in the metro area that Twins baseball has been listened to or heard on the FM band, which is a significant upgrade.
Where is the studio?
The studio is right across from the Target Field in the old Ford Center. The Ford Center is on the historical registry. It's undergone a major renovation, and K-Twin is right on the corner of 5th Street and 5th Avenue. So as folks who are walking to the ballpark coming in through Gate 6, you can actually look right into the windows and see the K-Twin main studio. So it's very close.
And I've noticed they have some interesting broadcasting, although I haven't been on it yet, but still.
This is, I think, unique across the game of baseball. So I don't know that there's any place else in the league that has the team and the radio station.
You have talk radio,
owned
you
by
have
the same
music.
family. It's a little talk, it's community, it's sports, and it's music. It's a kind of an adult guitar-based rock and roll music format. Throw in there are many community events as well, and it's Twins play-by-play. So they'll carry the Twins, the Menards pregame show at 6:40, and then we'll go into the broadcast at 7 o'clock, and then they'll take our Toyota Download post-game show, and then they do their own post-game show.
You don't have any geriatric Twins radio, though.
The target demographic.
I'm applying for that.
Yeah, okay. No, I wouldn't go that far and call it the geriatric group yet.
Trust me.
Don't sell yourself short.
But yeah, I actually did radio. Well, back in the days when we were fighting for the stadium, and I was part of the group that was really involved in that. And when we flew down to Houston and to Pittsburgh and places like that, I did a half inning with Bert and Dick, and I did a half inning with, I guess it was John Gordon
that time,
in those days,
right. Yeah.
And where we were doing the pitch for the stadium, and that's all come to pass.
It has, and I can't believe we are in the 4th season already at Target Field. And I remember days that you and I would be out there tromping around in our hard hats and construction boots, and here we are now in the 4th season. It really is hard to believe how time has flown, but it's really been good to see the evolution of Target Field and how accessible it is to our fans, and how the fans have really come to embrace it as their home of Twins baseball. And that's been great to see.
We generally now take light rail and get right off at the door.
Yeah, it's great coming from the south.
Go to Fort Snelling and leave the car, and as we will tomorrow.
That's right.
Kansas City, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow because at Twins Fest 2 years ago, the one that was out of town, maybe that was even 3 years ago, when we were at the Blaine Sports Center.
Right.
I had a long interview with Kyle Gibson, and tomorrow is Kyle's first starting day. So,
yeah, that's great. It's nice to have him up here. I know he's excited about it. The organization's excited about it. It's always nice to get that first one out of the way.
Yeah.
So we'll see how he performs with the additional stresses of your debut at the major leagues, but it'll be good to have him here.
He's got a lot of talent.
Yes, he does.
And we've had some real disappointments in our starting pitching this year.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get him here. The nice thing about what we've got going now on with our organization is there's a lot of excitement at the minor league level. As you know, we moved over our low A ball to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, so it's a 4-hour drive. It's a lot easier to get there.
Yeah, that's very nice. And
we got a lot of good response from that.
People who are driving down there come back with really nice stories about the field and the ambiance of the minor league system in Cedar Rapids.
It's a relatively new ballpark, which is nice. It's, as we mentioned, it's easy to get to. I've seen a lot of Cedar Rapids Colonels T-shirts and hats at Target Field, so there's a nice synergy there of their fans coming here and our fans going there. And like you mentioned, you had that interview with Kyle Gibson from a couple years ago, and now here he is making his major league debut on Saturday. When you go see those kids play in Cedar Rapids, you're basically previewing history. The Byron Buxtons of the world and the Miguel Sano's, who are now moved up into other minor league teams. So to see them at that young age of 19, 20, 21, and then to see them at their major league debut, that's a neat thing. That's a unique to baseball too. That doesn't happen in other sports.
We spoke to Hicks last year, and of course he's run into problems this year. But it's interesting how Arcia has moved in there, and he's here to stay.
You'd hope so. He's quite a character. He doesn't get cheated when he goes to the plate. If you're walking around Target Field and you hear Adam Abrams or a PA announcer announce that Arcia is up to bat, just stop. Just stop what you're doing, stop where you are, and watch, because it's very entertaining. Gardy even says he doesn't miss a swing of that kid, because he swings for the fences, and he doesn't get cheated, as I said.
And he's very strong, and
right.
Yeah.
And with the Hicks situation too, that anyone who's got any muscle issues or pulled a hamstring or had some kind of problem that way, it just takes time to heal. There's no magic cure for what an ailment he's got, that distress in his legs. So he'll be back, and I remind people a lot who say, well, he came up, he was a highly touted rookie, he didn't do too well in April. That's well documented. But
that was April.
Torrey Hunter, before he became Torrey Hunter, was up and down in the minor leagues.
Yeah, he was sent. I've been around long enough. Sharon and I moved here. It'll be 17 years now. I grew up a Yankee fan. We went to the Metrodome, and one of the first games we went to was when the Yankees came in, and it was like watching the rich kids come to play the Sandlot team. Mm-hmm. And we struggled in those days, but we had some really good guys. Doug Minkiewicz, who was always one of my favorites and is now managing in the minors and all. But became instant Twins fans there, because I've always rooted for the underdog, and it came to pass. And
it's funny how times changed too. That was those were the days. 28 years in the Metrodome, as we've kind of jokingly say in the office, we played baseball in the corner of a football field for 28 years, and now the advent of Target Field has created a lot of great things, not only for the organization but for the community. So, payroll is up. The venue is awesome. Target Field is a destination now. It's where our fans want to bring their relatives when they come visit. They want to come to a game. They want to show off Target Field.
Plus, in those days, I think we had something like a $19 million payroll. Right. It was something.
Yeah.
And the Yankees came in with 100 or 120 million. And how can you not root for that caliber of player striving hard? Mm-hmm. And it's the same way I have an affinity for Mike Redmond and what he's going through in Miami. Not necessarily beating us twice, but 3 out of 4. Yeah.
The times certainly change. There's no question about it. And it's nice to see that. And I think what's important to remember is that every one of those players that comes to the Major League Baseball stadium and walks in that clubhouse and puts that uniform on from our team understands how important it is, that it's not handed to you. It wasn't handed to Joe Mauer. He went down to Elizabethton, Tennessee, and started there. Kyle Gibson did. We just signed the kid, I forgot his name, a 6'10" pitcher from University of Indiana, or Indiana University. Signed him today, and he's off to Tennessee tomorrow to start his journey. So I think when our players get to the Major League level and put on that Major League uniform, that they know that they've worked hard to get there, and they don't want to go back.
And when they walk in, I wish all the fans had the opportunity, and I guess they do. Well, Twins Fest hasn't been at Target Field yet, but to walk into the home locker room, because it's breathtaking, the caliber, the beauty of it, the expanse of it, it really is something that you really appreciate, especially having been at the Metrodome previously.
Right, and look at the places too that you play in the minor leagues. I mean, you're right. It's a very nice clubhouse. It's not anything over the top or too extravagant, but it's functional and very nice and very well appointed. And those guys spend many hours together in that room. So it's got to be that way. Our training facility is very nice in there, and I will tell you something too that I think your viewers will want to know is that you mentioned Twins Fest. We are going to take a stab at it in 2014. We are going to take a stab at
that will
doing
be
Twins Fest at Target Field. It will be an entirely different experience. It's not like the Metrodome where we had all the turf and just the roof and people could throw their coats down and 50,000 seats.
Well, you'll have to spread it out throughout the whole
We're going to
Target
spread it out
field
throughout the entire building. We're going to limit attendance.
You're not going to be able to put it on the field, that's for sure.
That's for sure. And we'll use the interior spaces, the clubs, Metropolitan Club, the Carew Puckett atriums. We'll probably use the service level to some degree. I think we're discussing bringing back those clubhouse tours. Maybe let people for an extra charge get in the home batting cage and take a couple of cuts in the cage. We have to remember this is the biggest, the biggest fundraiser we have for the Twins Community Fund every season. So we're going to try to take that into account and try to raise as much money as we can for the community fund while showing our fans a really cool kind of behind-the-scenes targeted field experience that they've
I think that'll be a great experience for fans, and I think that you'll be surprised by the number of people who want to participate in it because it's very unique. And
yeah, you're
Target
right.
Field is very unique.
It is, and it's going to be the first time we've done that forever. So I think we're all in the learning curve of how that will kind of proceed. But it's going to be fun, and then we never know. I mean, when the Viking Stadium gets built back on the Metrodome site, we might move Target or Twins Fest over, across the downtown to the new Viking Stadium and reinvent it again. But I think Twins Fest at Target Field will be
well, that'll
fun.
be an interesting experience. Now, you mentioned the Yankees are in need of a first baseman, and we know that Morneau is in the last year of his contract. And just reading the papers, you wonder, is Morneau going to be with us throughout this year? What do you think? I've had Terry on the show, but Terry will never say.
I'm a hopeless romantic in the sense that the days of a player coming up through the organization, making it to the major league level, and playing his whole career with the team never happens.
Virtually gone.
Virtually gone. And Justin and Krista have made a home here. They are very active in the community. Krista sits on the board of directors of the Twins Community Fund. Justin, has his casino night for juvenile arthritis. I mean, they're community activists. I personally would love to see him stay and close out his career.
I would too.
That would be great. But then you and I both know that the realities of the business side of baseball, and you never know. But that's another compelling storyline we have going into the summer is what happens by the trade deadline here a month away at the end of July.
I think a lot of it depends on how well we are doing at that time. I was disappointed in the off season. We went out and we got 3 pitchers, yes, but they were all pretty much retreads in my mind. Correa is doing reasonably well. But I felt that while some of the other teams in our division went to Neiman Marcus, we went to the dollar store. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, proven pretty much true. If we had gone out and gotten Greinke, well, number one, he might not have been hurt, and he might be a 12-game winner by now.
Right. Might be, might not be.
Might be, might not be.
But
I would have taken a chance.
Yeah, that's the thing with pitchers. We learned, I think our history has been you don't really want to sign a legacy-type contract to a pitcher. We didn't do it with Johan Santana.
Yeah.
Got a lot of criticism for that, and then look what happened to Johan, one of the greatest guys we've ever had in our clubhouse. So he's been on the injury patrol here for a number of years out in New York. So
another great guy we had here who was interested in the community is a guy by the name of Michael Kadire, who I read today is batting .346 and has a 24-25 game hitting streak. Was a great guy.
Yeah, Michael is
great
awesome
personality.
He's got his hitting streak with the Rockies is now set for them a franchise record.
Yeah,
he's in the Rockies record books, which I'm really happy for. He was a great community guy.
He should be an all-star this year.
He should. Oh yeah, he should be an all-star. And a contingent of us, speaking of the all-star game, is headed out to New York to observe all there is to observe behind the scenes for the 2013 All-Star Game because, of course,
next year it will be here.
We hosted at Target Field in 2014. So we'll a bunch of us head out there to kind of. There are a million moving parts of the All-Star Game, by the time you get to Tuesday, the actual All-Star game, there has been so much that has gone on prior to that the game is almost like
the home run hitting contest.
You got the home run derby.
You got the Futures game now.
Futures game, the celebrity softball game on Sunday, the Futures game, the workout day, as you mentioned, and the home run derby. But beyond those events at the ballpark, there are in New York there's a gala on the USS Intrepid this year. There is a free charity concert in Central Park.
It'd be hard for us to do something on the Intrepid.
Yeah, it really wouldn't. That'd be we're landlocked on that. But those are the things that we'll go out and observe and see how we can customize the All-Star Week experience for our fans here in the Midwest. The Convention Center will host Fan Fest, which we know that the vast majority of our fans will not be able to get into Target Field for the game. So how do we engage our community to feel a sense that they were part of the All-Star experience? So we'll have the Fan Fest at the Convention Center. We'll have other things that happen around the community that we can participate in outside of Target Field. So we're looking forward to putting together a real active community activation, community involvement for that week.
That should be a challenge for you communications-wise also.
Oh yeah, and because we'll do a number of press events. The nice thing about the All-Star game is when the MLB leaves, they leave behind a few $1 million for charity and charity outreach in the community. So we'll be announcing a number of things, a number of enterprises that will get some funding. So we'll have a number of media events. We'll have to advise our fans and really the downtown Minneapolis community how to get around Minneapolis during that week. We'll work with the downtown council in the city of Minneapolis and the county. When you arrive at the airport in Minneapolis the week, in Bloomington, the week of the All-Star game, you're going to know the All-Star games in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Commissioner Seelig had indicated, he made a comment that it'll be great to have the All-Star game at Citi Field in New York City this year. But he also said that an average person walking down Times Square might not even know the All-Star games in New York because it's so big. You're going to know the All-Star games in Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Let's face it, it's the medium-sized cities that really are the heart of baseball. It's not just New York, and it's not just L.A. and the several big cities.
Right.
It's cities like this.
And the nice thing about Minneapolis and St. Paul is that we've got history in holding big events: Super Bowls, Final Fours, World Series, U.S. Open at Hazeltine, PGA Championships, civic events. So the folks who work on these things are veterans, and I think we're all going to come together. And our hope is, and our ownership's hope is, to put on a really, really good show.
Say something about the community fund. I know you were so much a part of it for so many years, and we've talked about it before, but I don't think that people really understand how important the community fund is. How much the Pollads have put into the community fund. I wish they had put more into salaries this year, but that's
Twins Community Fund has been around for many, many years, and what it is, it's the charitable arm of the ball club. Although it's its own independent 501c3, not-for-profit. It's run by a board of directors, a public board of directors. It's staffed by Twins staff, so the overhead is low.
We've been audited by the IRS.
We have been, yes, and we have been audited by the IRS. We've been audited by our auditors. I still get the meeting, with the auditor who comes in and shuts the door and asks me various questions. So we're all good, but community fund has a lot of good outreach. Over $4.2 million has been dispersed through the community on renovated ball fields for youth baseball and softball,
which is a really big thing.
Which is a huge thing. Especially, it's amazing what a even a $10,000-$20,000 renovation at a rural community ballpark can do for that community and surrounding communities. It's a great gathering spot. It's a community asset. It's a great place to go play. My parents spend the summer up in, near Ely, Minnesota, and Ely's got a great baseball park, and they host youth tournaments up there. So you've got teams from all over Minnesota spending 4 or 5 days up in Ely, in motels in that beautiful Boundary Waters area, playing baseball games in this beautiful little facility. That's what it's about.
Yeah,
and that's what the community fund does. It kind of it helps at the grassroots level.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I have 2 treasured bats that sit in my office, and one is a Killebrew bat signed by Killebrew, And the other is a bat that never touched a ball, but it is also signed. Unfortunately, it was used by Matt LeCroy several times in games. But
Matty LeCroy.
Yeah.
Haven't heard that name for a while.
he's around.
Yeah, he's around.
A really good guy.
Yep.
Speaking of good guys, yeah.
And we've been blessed with a lot of good guys in our history, which is awesome. And another thing we have going on this summer, which I think is bears discussing, is the RBI World Series is back again for the third year in a row. Not many teams host the RBI World Series, and what I'm talking about there is it's the RBI stands for Reviving Baseball in the Inner Cities. It's a big Major League Baseball component. We really have embraced it. Our staff has embraced it here in Minneapolis and St. Paul. 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 kids in the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul are playing baseball and softball every summer because of funding from the Twins Community Fund for the RBI program. And this summer, the first 2 weeks in August, kids from all over the world will descend upon Minneapolis and St. Paul and play some youth games here. And I got to tell you,
How important
pay attention
that
to
is
that.
for them also.
You know, I met a kid from Venezuela who never been out of his town, never been to Caracas, never been on an airplane, and now he's playing a championship game in the RBI World Series as a 17-year-old kid in Target Field. Think about the 2 weeks that kid has. He lives on an island. And he fishes to raise money for his family. And to get to baseball practice, baseball practice, he has to take a boat for an hour and a half, find the baseball field, go to practice, take the boat back home, and then he's up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do the morning fishing. Tremendous story. So look for the RBI World Series in August. It's great baseball to go watch and support those kids.
In the very little time we have left, I want to mention the fact that the food variety at Target Field has been enhanced and enhanced and enhanced, and it's really, really amazing the different varieties of food that are available now.
Well, good. I'm glad you noticed that, because that's one of the things that we really pride ourselves on, our operations staff and Delaware North Sports Service, our food and beverage vendor and partner. We want to go out and get the food that people like and the food that's regional. Like this year we added Max Fish and Chips. I'm mentioning one. It's out of the State Fair stand in center field. If you want to have some good fish and chips, hit the State Fair stand this year. That's awesome. They added the spaghetti pie at Frankie V's stands. I had one the other night. Awesome. So you're right. Food and beverage is off the charts at Target Field, which really does enhance that game day experience.
And we've run through our time just about, but anything that you want to say in closing, because we have a little less than a minute left.
Well, first of all, I appreciate the opportunity to come on your show and talk about all things Twins.
It's always a pleasure.
It's great, and you've been a really good supporter of our organization, which we appreciate. And you know, we just hope that your viewers and our fans can get down to Target Field a lot this summer. It's going to be a beautiful summer, and we're competitive. We're right in it, and so let's go down there and win Twins.
Well, we'll be there tomorrow to see Gibson's debut. And we'll be there also next Wednesday when the dreaded Yankees come in. Also, they're not so dreaded this year,
right.
But that's good. Sharon was born in Cleveland, so she has a great affection for the Cleveland Indians, and this might be their year. And Kevin Smith, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks. Thank you.